Mike Detillier, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing good, Ryan. How you feeling, buddy?
Man, I'm great. I'm great.
And, I knew you were feeling real good, not this Saturday, but Saturday before last, because we talked while LSU was playing Auburn. So I knew you were feeling real good right after the game.
Oh, I was feeling great right after that game, man.
I don't know if you were feeling as good as Coach O, but you were feeling good.
Hey, it was good. It was great, and I mean, what a big win. Coach O is, and we haven't talked. Last week I had the surgery, so we haven't talked since LSU beat Auburn. Big win for Coach O.
Yeah, it's the biggest win of his coaching career. I mean, listen, he ain't had much at Ole Miss, so he had a couple of pretty good wins at Southern Cal as the head coach, but in his tenure, it was the biggest win. You're on the road, double-digit underdog. You're missing offensive linemen and going up against one of the better defenses in college football, and you fall behind double-digit, and it was almost deja vu all over again. You go back a year ago, almost in the exact same spot, DJ Chalk turns the game around on a punt return, scores, and then Connor Cup comes in to give you the win with the field goal. And then this time, it's Joe Burrow to Derek Dillon on the big pass play downfield, and then Cole Tracy, who's just been fabulous. I remember back, this was early January, and Greg McMahon, who was at that time, he had just been the new full-time special teams coach. He said, Mike, I got a guy I think he's really good. And so, he told me about him. He said, I only got him for 1 year, though. I only have him for 1 year. I was like, okay. He said, I put it in O's ear that we got to get him here if you fix it real quick. And sure enough, the next week we get Martin Anderson on. And Martin had just done a ceremony for kickers. And first thing he tells me is, hey, listen, they got a guy going to LSU I think is really good, Cole Tracy. And, so he went from somebody I hadn't really heard anything about to have an LSU special teams coach really praise him. And then, you're talking about an NFL Hall of Fame kicker talks it up about him. And Martin says, and just talking to him and kind of watching what he does and everything, he impressed me of just his mannerisms and, kicking's between the ears. Like you said, nobody can teach you how to kick. You might help you a little bit on fundamentals, but either you can or you can't. And he said pretty much it's like a golf swing. Anybody who's played it a little bit understands it's not always there, and you're going to miss some, but it's the ability to kind of shake it off and come back. One of the greatest calls Martin ever made, we do it a Monday night show at one of the casinos in Mississippi at the Silver Slipper, national championship game. And we watching the end of regulation. And the kicker for Alabama, he's pacing the sidelines, and Bobby Hebert and I both get a text from Martin. I bet he misses it, the field goal, and he misses it bad. And sure enough, Martin said, I can tell by mannerisms how he takes care of it. And, and he brought up about how Cole Tracy just handles the moment so well. He wasn't overwhelmed with it. And, he just got in there and made that crucial kick. And that was a big win for Orgeron. You knew you were going to have a letdown the next week against Louisiana Tech. And they played well for a half, and then, Tech made some plays and misses some tackles by the receivers in the second half that got Tech right back in the game. But, LSU, I think, has got the game plan to beat Ole Miss. Run on them. That's what they've done the last few years, if it's been Fournette or Geis or Darrell Williams, and now they got the combination of Brissett and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. It's a late-night game, 8 o'clock, so you know what that means, Ryan. Got a lot of firewater in the radiator by 8 o'clock in Baton Rouge.
Hey, but let me say this about Ole Miss's defense, and I know this is a joke, but I don't know if the players could call their own plays. Like when we used to go out in backyard football, and we'd say, I got this guy, and you got that guy, and because calling them out, I don't know if they could be any worse on defense. I mean, that is an awful defense.
They're not very good on the defensive side of the football. Again, they got 3 really good receivers, and I think Jordan's a pretty good quarterback. The young JUCO running back's pretty good, but, I mean, come on, they don't play defense. They got to stop somebody at some time. and that's going to be the issue. And, again, LSU is not going to light them up throwing the football. For all this talk about 3-4 wide receiver sets, and LSU does some of that, and they want it incorporated more in the offense. You're talking about a guy who's had no spring work and just comes in and takes over the starting quarterback position. It's a lot to put on his plate, and now they're missing 3 starting offensive linemen. So, we'll see how well that goes by the time they get to play Georgia and Alabama. But that's some big losses up front for LSU not to have 3 starting offensive linemen. But still, in this game, against who you're playing, play small ball with them, move them around. You've done it the last couple of years, and I think they go right back to that. But they have gotten their kicking game straightened out, Ryan. I think that was a major question mark going into the season. I know laughed with me about it. We did a junket together, and he was like, listen, he said, I think Cole Tracy's the answer here. But he said, Mike, you and I played in front of high school. When we were in high school, we played in front of bigger crowds than this guy's kicked at Assumption College. It's just unbelievable. In that one game against Auburn, he kicked in front of more people than he did in 3 years at Assumption College. So but he's handled the pressure really well, and that's certainly been a big plus for LSU this year. And, again, I think they'll handle LSU fine despite the losses up front along the offensive line this week, and they're going to be without 3 starters again along the offensive line. But, as the meat of that schedule wheels around, they better get healthy, and they better get healthy quick. They're not going to be able to match up against Georgia and Alabama or even Mississippi State if they can't get people healthy up front.
But it's good for that program. I like Coach O. I think he's one of those personable guys. He's not better than, to me, he's down to earth. And I think if there's
he's a good dude. And everybody, because we get asked about it all the time, after the win, you see him rip off the helmet, and he turns and he punches the cop in the arm. That guy's Russell Roger. We go back. They've known each other since was at Northwestern State in Louisiana. He was in college, and when him and Bobby J were roommates together. And introduced me to Russell back, I'm going to say 83, 84. And comes to show what happens, Russell gets on, and security at LSU was doing it for Coach Miles, and now he's the security guy for Coach O. Goes to show me, kind of how life takes some swings and turns. But they've been knowing each other since early 1980s.
Mike, let's make the transition here. Tua continues to go out, and I mean, we're losing adjectives to describe his performance here. We've never really had anything like this in Tuscaloosa, and we're kind of lost with adjectives. I know you've always been a huge Tua fan, even prior to showing up here at the University of Alabama. You've been talking about him for a long time. Another big, solid game when you look at Tua Tagovailoa against Texas A&M. Yeah,
because, Ryan, the one thing he doesn't have is starting experience at the collegiate level. And so, you're going up against Texas A&M, and, it's a huge game for the Aggies, and they prepared for what they had. And, again, he comes out, and he's so sharp, and he's so poised under pressure. He's not going to be perfect, but, man, you see what he's doing with the football. It's amazing to watch him throw the ball so well. And, I go back to it, and, people always ask for comparisons to him, and, I look at him, he's a left-handed version of Drew Brees.
Sure. A lot of comparisons.
That's what he looks like. He's a southpaw version of Drew. In essence, he knows where to go with the football. And the one thing he's learned, Ryan, that a lot of times young quarterbacks and having to do weekly shows with 5 former quarterbacks, and I work with Archie Manning, at Thibodeau Regional Medical Center. One of the things they always say the same thing. Sometimes the best pass is an incomplete. Just throw the ball away. Live to fight another day. And he said sometimes, Archie's big on this. Hey, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. Don't try to force something that's not there. And I know him and I had this conversation about a week ago about, man, just how poised he is and taking in the moment, and with all the pressures of being a starting quarterback at the University of Alabama and coming in as that big-time recruit and how well he's handled it. Because sometimes in that transition where, you got a starter who's won a ton of games like Jalen Hurts has, and coming in, you got to convince your teammates, hey, I'm better than him. I'm the guy that can win you a ton of games. And how well he's handled that and won over his teammates has been so impressive. And I really think that's the one thing you can talk about is accuracy skills from the pocket, which is really good, knowing where to go with the football. He's just going to get better. Listen, if I'm the other SEC schools, man, I'm sweating this out. Because if I'm seeing that from a guy who hasn't played a ton of starting games, in college football, what the hell am I going to do against him next year? Or, I had one NFL scout tell me this, Saints-Browns game. We in there, and we talking about a whole bunch of things, and he leaned over to me and said, let me tell you something. He said, this year's draft, 2019, he said, man, it's one of the best years, because he saw an article I'd written about it. He said, it's one of the best years I've ever seen for defensive line. He said, I agree with you. He said, I've seen the kid out at Oregon and Justin Herbert, and the kid at Missouri, Drew Lock, is really good too. But he said, Mike, if I had my choice, I would take Tua with the first overall pick if it was me. He's that good. Now, I know he's not available, but he said that's how good he is. And he said, we just got, a sample of what he can do out on the field. This is a guy who has scouted the NFL for 24 years. So that rang true to me, because he told me, he said, I remember when you told me at Manning Camp a couple of years ago, that guy's going to be a star player. And he said, a lot of people, they always remember when you're wrong, but he said, boy, were you right about this kid? He said, he can play. And he said, I'm telling you, if he was available, he said, it wouldn't even be close. He'd be the top pick in 2019. So that sort of tells you what even NFL people think about him.
So, Mike, here's the question, though, because we look at the Jalen Hurts stock just for a couple of minutes. We think about the stock because chances are, I think most of us anticipate him graduating and being that year grad transfer, right? But to me, when you look at Jalen, and it's like when you bring him in, it's like going from a Lamborghini to a Ford Fiesta or a, something. I mean, it's just like it's almost like Jalen is not as bad as the image is, but after you're sitting there watching Tua play for 3 quarters and then here comes Jalen into the game, you're just like, oh my heavens. Is Jalen Hurts stock taking a hit because he's still here and he's going out there, but after watching this guy for 3 quarters and you watch the other guy for another quarter, it's like, man, it really exposes a lot of his weaknesses.
Yeah, they're two totally different style players. It's like, people who prefer a sports car and people who prefer a truck. And that's what you got with Jalen. He's a top of the line truck as far as that's concerned. Different style quarterbacks, different feelings about how they handle an offense. But when you got someone who can throw the football as well as what Tua can, he elevates your football team another level. Ryan, I just think about, listen, Joe Burrow's not set the field on fire here at LSU, but look how big of a difference he's made on this football team.
Sure.
Look at Jake Fromm and what he's been able to do to revitalize Georgia's program. Now, they got really good players all across the board, but because they got the guy that can turn the engine over on the car, look what's happening at Penn State. Look at the guy there. He was a guy not a lot of people wanted coming out of high school, but look what he's been able to do. Again, we give them way too much credit when they win and way too much blame when they lose. But, boy, when you don't have one, you're looking for one. And, again, Tua gives you that element. That hasn't been at Alabama in a long period of time. And you think across the SEC of what he's been able to do, it's amazing that Tim Brando and I had this conversation that before the season that I thought the big difference this year than the last couple was that the SEC teams seem to the defense is good. They had a good running game, but the quarterback positions were question marks all across the board. And then this year, you come in, and even what you see at Ole Miss with Jordan Tomei, what you see with Nick at Mississippi State, what Burrow's been able to do, what Drew Lock has done at Missouri, Brantley, what he's been able to do at South Carolina, Jake Fromm, Tua. Man, I don't remember, Ryan, another time frame that many. And even Mond out at Texas A&M, he's pretty doggone good too. When you look at it across the board, can you remember another time frame when you have that many good passers in this league? It's been a long time since the SEC can say that. And I think they understood that, listen, if we don't get better at the quarterback position, some of these other conferences are starting to make that move up because they're better there. But this year, man, do you hear all these national announcers banging their chests about how good the Pac-12 and Big Ten are?
No.
You know why? They don't have the guy that can turn the engine over on the car. And Oklahoma had it with Baker. They got a guy he's a different style quarterback, and he's a good player there at Oklahoma, but he don't throw the football as well as what Baker Mayfield could. You look at Southern Cal's program. I didn't think Sam Darnold was well coached there, but still, that's going to be a totally different program without Sam Darnold. Urban Meyer is who he is. He's been able to do it at Ohio State in getting and developing quarterbacks. No matter what you want to think about him personally, the guy can coach quarterbacks really would. And you look at Haskins, how well he's played there, and then certainly what Tracy's done at Penn State. I think the big difference this year is the quarterback play in the Southeast Conference. And you give a stellar one like that to Alabama, man, listen, I don't know a game that they could lose. It would have to be one of these type situations where, and occasionally it does happen, a guy does not play well, where he'll maybe throw 3 or 4 interceptions, put the ball on the turf. But, boy, I mean, right now, that juggernaut, I don't see it getting derailed.
Mike, how long have you been in the media business?
34 years.
All right, 34 years. Have you ever went to a press conference following a game where a coach asked the media for bad press?
Phew, that's a good question.
Nick Saban literally called on us to create the reverse of rat poison. He wanted us to write and talk about negative about his football team. He literally pleaded with the media following the press conference on Saturday. He pleaded with the media, and I could even play it. I think I got the audio here. Listen to this, Mike. Listen, okay. This is Nick Saban following the win on Texas against Texas A&M.
One thing I'd like to say to everybody, and I don't want to get into the rat poison again, but we got a good team. But our team needs to do a lot of things to improve. All right? And if what our team has accomplished to this point makes them in any way not take into account the kind of teams that we have to play in the future, and they underestimate what we need to do to improve so that we can become a better team, and don't just take things for granted, that we're going to show up because we got an Alabama uniform on and win the game. It's not going to happen that way. And it's going to be everybody's choice in the organization. All right, so I'd appreciate it if you would, sort of look at some of the things we didn't do so well, and write about that. So maybe I can show it to the players and say, look here, man, here's something you can do better. All right, see you later.
34 years. Have you ever heard a coach that asked for bad press?
Never. No, I've heard him swing it the other way around. Because normally when things go bad, our expectations aren't met, and it's like that in politics today too. It's always, blame the media. They're the one who created this firestorm. And so, but that's a new one on me, Ryan.
Hey,
I will say that's a brand new one on me there. But again, I understand what he's trying to get across because we do live in that world. And it's just not a younger generation, too. It's young people, middle-aged, older people. We worried about, what happened yesteryear. We're not worried about today and tomorrow a lot. And I think that's what he tries to get across to his players and trying to constantly get better. It's a new one, and very few guys can pull that off. But he could, because of what he's done. His accomplishments let him do that and get away with it, where I don't think many coaches could get up and do it. That isn't Belichick's style in the NFL to do that, but, for Nick it is. And he does coach by intimidation. And it's a hidden art today that most coaches, that there is some part of that, but he gets away with it. And he does a fantastic job of motivating you on, if you don't give your best, I'm going to get somebody that will. He might not be quite as good as you, but I'll get somebody that'll give me great effort and that'll give me what I want. There ain't a lot of coaches that can do that, but that's a new one. I will say that one's up on the board.
Mike Detillier, find him on the Twitter account, Detillier, Mike Detillier, college pro football analyst, WWL, AM/FM there, TV work, radio work. Find him on the Twitter account. Mike, as always, thank you again for your time. Have a great week.
Thank you, Ryan. God bless you, brother. Take care of yourself.